It was about 2 a.m. on a Saturday night, summer solstice to be exact. Inside my home, even with the back doors and windows open and the fan on, it was at least 30 degrees. I couldn't sleep. The house was silent. The low hum of snoring was in the background. It was just me and the mosquitoes for company. I pulled out one of my canvases and started working on a piece of artwork of a black lady with her face obscured by blue florals. I love art. It's such an important thing to me, not just the art of writing, but the art of painting. Watercolour and inks to create urban buildings and sketches and botanical arts are my preferences. That night, I was using acrylics and doing an easy paint by numbers project I bought off Instagram. As I worked on the different hues of blue, what came to mind was Annie Lee, the black woman artist who captured black womanhood in her art. In particular, her most famous piece, Blue Monday. For sure, she had to become the latest addition to the Encyclopedia of Black Women for Notes on Black Women. Annie Lee and Blue Monday, the soul of black womanhood. So Annie Lee, born on the 3rd of March 1935 and she passed away on the 24th of November 2014, was an African-American artist known for her vibrant, expressive paintings that captured everyday black life across America. Most critics say she used warmth and humour, but also deep cultural insight in her work. She was born in Alabama and she was raised in Chicago. Like a lot of women, especially black women with womanhood experiences similar to Annie's, such as responsibility, work, and navigating an anti-black and anti-female society, Annie didn't actually self-actualize and follow her path to become an artist until she was in her 40s. This itself offers a powerful lesson on perseverance for us and also highlights the non-linear paths that creative black women often take or walk, myself included. What's so great about Annie's work? As an artist, she stood out and differentiated herself by creating a signature style choice. Her figures rarely had full facial features. Personally, I do enjoy this about her art. Instead, she used things like body language, posture, and colour to communicate emotion and messages through her artwork. The result, we could say, when we look at Annie's work, is that her subjects feel similar, yet still familiar to anyone who could understand and share the cultural nuances she invoked in her work. From church hats to kitchen table conversations to Monday mornings filled with exhaustion and, of course, the blues. Although she always loved painting, Annie delayed her artistic ambitions. After high school, she married very young. She worked full-time to support her family. She eventually earned her master's degree from Loyola University, I hope I've pronounced that correctly, and studied at the Art Institute of Chicago. It wasn't until a tragic personal moment for her, which was the death of her second husband, that Annie took the deep leap and became a professional artist in her 40s. So to her artwork, the story behind Blue Monday and why this resonates. So if you are listening to this on YouTube, I will try and put a picture up of the painting I'm referring to. If you've got the written version of this essay, you will find the picture on the written document. I must confess, as I was creating my own artwork using different hues of blue and thinking about how I can research and write about Annie, I had an urge at 2 a.m. that morning to get my hands on a copy of Annie's artwork, Blue Monday, to display on my office wall alongside pictures of Alice Walker, Zora Neale Hurston, and Toni Morrison. A simple Google search will throw up many places that do sell reprints if you are interested. The black art depot could be a good option if you're in the USA, and if you're in Europe with me, then Etsy has many sellers. Blue Monday is Annie's most iconic painting, a piece that resonates deeply with many black women. Using simple scenery and different hues of blue, she created a black woman slumped over the edge of her bed, dressed in a white slip, in a position that invokes the viewer's imagination and feelings. The woman is clearly mustering the energy to get out of bed. She's exhausted, clearly facing, the dread of another week, likely after a weekend of chores, responsibility, and maybe even very little rest for herself. But despite its simplicity, the image is rich with a lot of emotional resonance, especially for Black women. While researching this, I found that Annie once explained that Blue Monday was a self-portrait and inspired by her own feelings of fatigue when she worked as a corporate executive. Now, who can relate to that? The image is instantly familiar to anyone who has ever dragged themselves out of bed on Monday after a busy weekend, maybe tending to family or friends' needs, plus trying to find time for ourselves. Blue Monday is not just about being tired, it's about the emotional and physical cost of constantly showing up, normally for others, even when there's little left for us to give. It speaks to sometimes the invisible labour of Black women who are often expected to keep going no matter what. Art as our mirror and capturing Black womanhood. So Annie's paintings were so honest. If you look at them, some of them are funny and some of them are deeply moving. She documented everything from beauty salons, Sunday services, jazz clubs to intimate domestic moments for Black women. In her works like My Cup Runneth Over and Church Ladies, Annie showed and celebrated Black culture not as a spectacle, but as a sacred thing to us. Annie very much carved out a space that was distinctly hers, particularly in how she centered Black women's inner lives. She did this without performance to suit anyone else but us. From looking at her work, to me, it's clear that it was created with us in mind, as only we could really understand it. Her work has been featured in galleries and collections across the USA, of course, and prints of her most beloved paintings are still widely collected and cherished today. Blue Monday is arguably one of the most reproduced pieces of Black art in many Black homes. Its message of exhaustion and resilience continues to echo decades after she painted it in around 1985. That said, what is good for me to notice as a Black European woman looking across the water and looking around me is that Black women seem to be resting as resistance to what's happening around them, especially in the USA. I've seen many reaction videos on YouTube with other demographics of society, clearly big mad because Black American women are not showing up to protests or they're not lifting a finger to fend for anyone else. And good for them, I say. So what can Black women around the world learn from this wonderful artist, Annie Lee? There are 4 things I believe. The first thing is that, after researching her and looking at her life, it's never too late. Annie Lee didn't begin her career until she was in her 40s, as I said. Her story kind of disrupts the myth that success has some kind of age limit. Your creative life is not over at any age. Her journey reminds us that starting late doesn't mean that we will be arriving small. What's important, and the most important thing, is that you actually get started. The second thing that I think we can learn from Annie Lee is that it's about telling our own stories. Annie's work was deeply personal and culturally specific. She didn't paint for approval, she painted what she knew. Black women across the globe can take inspiration from her confidence in centering her own community. She didn't seek to translate Blackness for others to understand. She invited people in to enter this world very much on her own terms. This is one of the major reasons, I would say, when I think about it, that I created Notes on Black Women. The third thing we can take from Annie and her story is that rest really can be revolutionary. So Blue Monday is a visual caption, we could say, a reminder to Black women throughout the African diaspora about the cost of not resting. Black women are often the backbones of families, communities, movements. You know all this, but Annie's work gently reminds us that even the strongest woman must also rest. In a society that praises mainly productivity, her art gives permission to take a pause. So pause, sis, okay? Just pause. Not only that, I think that other groups of people who have historically depended on our support, advocacy and so forth and showing up, they will put a bit more respect on our name when they see that our support is now based on conditions. That condition would be Reciprocity. The fourth thing we can learn from Annie Lee and her artwork is that your work can actually be your legacy, even if the world doesn't recognize your gifts immediately, which is what happens with a lot of artists. You know, your work does matter, and it doesn't matter whether your art is writing or your art is actually creating art itself. Annie Lee's art lives on not only in galleries, but in the hearts and homes of people who see themselves in it. So legacy isn't always about just fame. Sometimes it's about impact. Annie Lee painted Black women as we are. Beautiful women, yet tired, yet still joyful, always resilient, trendsetters and stylish, very spiritual, and of course full of grace. Her most famous painting, Blue Monday, has become a global reality for many of us. In it, many Black women see themselves not in a space of despair, but they see themselves as being recognized. She captured what it means to carry a load and still get up on Monday morning. For Black women everywhere, whether in Johannesburg, Atlanta, Paris, Milan, London, Lagos, it really doesn't matter. Annie Lee's legacy is a testament to the power of telling our own stories, claiming our rest at the same time when we need it, and honouring our own truth, all in full colour. What a great artist she was. I really can't wait until my print arrives so that I can display it on my wall. So this week, or whenever you read this, or whenever you hear this, think about this. 3 things: rest, reflect, and rise. In my interpretation of her art, I feel that partly Annie painted Blue Monday not just to show our reality, but also as a moment of pause. And by this, I mean a reminder that even when we're snowed under, we are worthy of things like self-care, creativity, expression, and of course, pausing. So this week, or whenever you come across this, take inspiration from her art. So pause. Give yourself permission to rest without feeling guilty, whether it's for 5 minutes or 5 hours or even 5 days. Make your rest your priority. Reflect. Think about what it is that you have to say or share with the world and how will you share it, because your voice does matter. And with the third point, rise. With this here, the point I'm really want to make is that don't wait for the perfect moment to begin your dream. Start from where you are with what you have and trust that it's enough at this moment in time. Then just start, whether you start next week or right now, whatever you do, or whenever you hear this, just make sure that you start. So that's it for the latest addition to our Encyclopedia of Black Women. Our newest inclusion is Annie Lee, this wonderful artist, and her beautiful artwork, Blue Monday. Much love, the Black Woman Essayist. I will catch you in the next one.